Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on my premiere episode of my new podcast, Something to Say with Hoosier Blue. And if you stick around long enough and get to know me a little bit, you will find out that on most topics, I have something to say. So let's get at it. So I think this is the appropriate time to introduce myself and give you a little bit of history about me. I'm 61 years old. I was born in 1963 in a small community just southwest of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And when I say a small community, I'm talking about 10,000 people in our town and less than 29,000 in our entire county. We are a small rural community in Indiana. I'm a political content creator. That's what I do now after my retirement. You can find me on most social media platforms. My handle is hoosierblue63 on almost all of them. And I will provide the links so you can follow me and find me on those platforms if you already are not part of the communities that I've been able to build. But I'm a political content creator. That's what I like doing. I like talking about current situations in the political world, past history, and what I think we need to look out for the future. And that's what my content is going to be about as I go through this journey of creating a podcast. I hope that you find them informative and entertaining. I rely on facts. I like to double check everything that I read once or twice just to make sure that it's the truth. I don't appreciate propaganda. I don't fall down rabbit holes. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I like cold, hard facts. I'm a progressive liberal. That is who I am. I'm in an area in Indiana, which Indiana, a lot of you may not know this, and a lot of you probably do if you follow politics. Indiana is a red state, very red right now. Some people call us a purple state, but right now we are a red state. So myself, being a progressive liberal, especially in the area I live in, I am an odd duck. I stick out like a sore thumb because I'm surrounded by MAGA conservatives. In fact, our district representative in the last election won 82% of the vote. So back in 2018, I started to create a little bit of political content. Not a lot, but every now and then on one of my social pages, I would throw out a meme or a story about, during the felon's first term. And if you're not quite sure of who I'm referring to, I do not call him by his name. If I do, it's a slip-up. I will always refer to him as a felon or the fascist felon. That's who I'm talking about. 47. I started creating political content back in 2018. And I was just doing it as a fun thing to do and some entertainment. And because I was quite annoyed and alarmed at what was taking place in our country. So to back up a little bit, I really didn't know a lot about the felon in my younger days. I saw him once on an episode of Howard Stern. When I was a single father, after I'd put my daughter to bed and I had some alone time, I would sit and watch Howard Stern's Late Show. And he was on there one night. I was appalled by just his arrogance and his narcissism and some of the things that he was saying. And I actually got turned off by Howard because he was entertained by it. I didn't care for the guy back then, but I didn't pay much attention to him. And as time goes on, once in a while, you'd see him in the news or you'd hear something about him. Big deal. He was just a billionaire that I could care less about. Well, when he came down that escalator in 2016 and announced his candidacy for the president of the United States, I lost it. I have to be honest with you. I could not believe it. And I thought, there is no way in hell that this guy will get elected. So, like many Americans, I didn't keep a sharp eye on him. I didn't do my due diligence in promoting and campaigning for Hillary Clinton because I thought there would be no way that he was going to be elected. So, like millions of Americans, when he was elected, I was shocked. And from that point on, when the MAGA movement started to gain momentum and they started to come out of the woodwork, that's when I decided I was going to let my voice be heard, that I had something to say, and I was going to say it. And so that's when I started my journey of political content. And as time went on, I created more and more and more. I actually left Facebook because Facebook is a different animal than what Instagram and other platforms are. You have a lot of local people that follow you and that you're friends with. And I was getting hammered by people in my community, friends of mine, associates, family members that I never knew they believed what they believed and that they would support this guy. So I dumped my Facebook page and I began creating content on Instagram. Fast forward to 2020 and the elections. I told a group of people that I was having Zoom calls with at the time, or that I was participating in Zoom calls with at the time, that I wasn't worried about Joe Biden winning the election because I thought deep in my heart that he was going to win. What I was worried about is what the felon was going to do when he lost. True to my words, what happened? January 6th.
It was a very mild-mannered speech.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength.
Spirit and faith and love. There was such love at that rally. And they were peaceful people. These were great people. And I mentioned the word love. The love in the air. I've never seen anything like it.
And after that point, I decided I needed to speak up. I needed to say something. I needed to let my voice be heard and try to share my feelings and my thoughts and my knowledge with as many people as I possibly could. And that is where my journey began, where I became deeply involved in political content creating. I've been fairly successful. I've built some good communities on the platforms that I have, and I work on them every day. It's a nonstop job, and I wouldn't be able to do this if I wasn't currently retired. But because I have a beautiful wife who allows me to do this and knows that it needs to be done, I'm able to do this. And I appreciate everyone who has been part of my communities and who supports me. And I hope that many of you follow me to my podcast. If you've never viewed a podcast, if you've never been someone who watches podcasts, I hope that I can change your mind and bring you into the podcast world. Because I truly believe with the way that mainstream media is and how they report stories and the bias that they show, I truly believe that for liberal Democrats, podcasts are going to be the main source of information as time goes on. This is what I believe, and this is why I started my podcast. So I feel like I'm ready to take on this journey and to take on this task. And I truly hope that you become part of this and that you work with me to save our democracy from the authoritarian dictator, the 4-time convicted felon, who is ruining our democracy and burning down our Constitution every single day. So this is my plans. This is what I would like to achieve with my podcast. I will have segments on it. Most of my podcasts will be by myself, talking about different issues. And there are many issues, as we know, on a daily basis that need attention. But I also will be inviting guests and doing interviews as time goes on. I hope that I'm able to bring some of you into this world and expose you to the podcast world. Grassroots people like yourselves into the world of podcasting and into the world of social media content creating and give you a taste of what it's like and let your voice be heard. Because I think the more that we hear and the more views we share and the more that we understand that there are millions of us that feel the same way, the better off we are going to be at fighting this authoritarian felon, because that's who he is. So one of the segments I'm going to have on all of my podcasts, on each one of them, is something that I'm going to call the fascists of the day. And this is one of the ways that I will have you participate and help me out with. I will take suggestions. I will use your comments on who you think the fascists of the day should be and why you think this individual should be the fascist of the day. And we all know there is an endless amount of fascists that we can recognize as fascists of the day. So this is one of the things I hope that you will become involved with. Most of the time I will talk about current events, but I will also talk about the history of politics and certain things that have happened at strategic times. Maybe there'll be a date that I'm doing a podcast where there's something happened in the political history of our country that I think is important for you to know for that day. I'm a Civil War buff, I'm a history buff, an American history buff. I will also be talking about things surrounding the Civil War and many of the things that happened because of the Civil War and things that have happened since the Civil War. And I will try to straighten out the confusion that those on the right have about the time period of the Civil War and actually what took place, because they're all confused about what a Democrat was during the Civil War. And we're going to clear that up. We're going to talk about words like woke and socialism. We're going to talk about CRT. We're going to talk about DEI. We're going to try to explain those things and to break them down in the simplest of terms so everyone and anyone can understand exactly what they mean. We're going to talk about certain individuals within the political scene, both on the Democratic side and on the fascist right side. That's what I plan on doing, and that's what I hope to achieve with this podcast. So I hope I've given you enough information. So I hope I've piqued your interest. I hope you are saying to yourself, wow, I like what this guy has to say. I'm going to give him a like and subscribe to his page and start watching his podcast. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm not doing this to get likes and to get subscribers, but I am doing this so we can build our community and spread information with each other and to inform each other and to grow our voices together so that we can save our democracy and that we can make sure that future generations have the same freedoms and the same love of our country that we have had in the past. Because we all know liberal Democrats are the true patriots of this country. It is not the red hat wearing fascist regime that's on the right. They are not patriots. Their love and loyalty is to a man and not to country. So please, I hope you join me in this journey. I hope you come back and listen to future episodes of my podcast. And I hope the topics that I pick are topics that you want to hear about. And like I said earlier, I want your participation. Please, if there's anything that you would like for me to discuss, drop a comment below, and I will do everything I can to talk about that specific topic. So thank you for joining me. I hope I've piqued your interest. I hope you realize now that when it comes to most everything out there, I have something to say. My name is Kurt Mollett. I'm Hoosier Blue. Have a lovely day, and I'll catch you on the other side.